and welcome to another episode of Modern Mom Probs Live. I am your host, Tara Clark. I am so excited to have you here today, have you joining me. And speaking of joining me, I have Dr. Carlene Link. She and I have been friends on Instagram for forever. I can't even think of how long that we've known each other, but I'm going to ask her in about a second. Dr. Link is a clinical pharmacist who works in an inpatient setting. She is a very popular medical blogger. She's very popular on Instagram. We're going to talk about that in a second too. And today we're going to be talking about workplace situations that are a little sticky and a little uncomfortable. And we're going to see how we could tackle and combat some of those challenging situations. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her onto the stage. Let's see. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? This worked. I was like, oh God, what if it doesn't go?
It worked. It actually did. It's so nice to see you. How is everything?
Everything's pretty good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, I can't complain. Just been busy and stuff like that. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump right into talking about those difficult work situations.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Carlene. I am a clinical pharmacist by training. I'm a mom of 2 little boys. And about, 4 years ago, I left the corporate America world of working this crazy full-time plus job so I could have a better work-life fit with what I was doing with my personal life and to still stimulate my professional life. So I think that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And then I found a nice community and on Instagram with a lot of other women. Some of them are medical professionals, some of them are stay-at-home moms, and I'm really there to help them overcome overwhelm and live a fulfilled life. Just really, build the life that they want and encourage them to go after it, because I was them at one point and I wasn't changing anything. It was tough.
Yeah. That's so tough, and especially like you said, you work in the medical field, and it's different from working in, let's say, a regular administrative office or something like that, right? So like you have different challenges than, let's say, when I worked at Nickelodeon, than I would have had at Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. And I think even just with a medical background, a lot of us women in medicine, I think we face a lot of undue stress and a lot of perfectionistic tendencies. We feel like we need to be 110% all the time at work. And then, especially in your training, you're working super hard to try to go alongside your colleagues. And I don't mean your female colleagues. There's a lot of disparity between men and women in all sorts of professions. And then when you start adding in the dynamic of family, that's when things get a little bit crazy. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. And I did some activity in my stories over on Instagram just to see if I asked moms, I said, or women, moms, women, whatever, have you ever felt unsupported in your work environment? And there were quite a few responses. It was 100% yes. And I'm talking women in medicine, women not in medicine, stay-at-home moms, women who are doctors, pharmacists, nurses, who have families that I do know personally and have connected professionally and personally. And it's just mind-boggling to me. So we do, and I'm sure this is not unique to medicine, but I can just speak from my personal experience. It's out there, and it could be really daunting sometimes to try to have to prove yourself as competent just because you had a child or you have children. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sure you can relate to this too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's 100% the case. I want to know, what were people saying in the stories? Do you feel comfortable sharing some of their own stories?
Yeah, I can paraphrase some of them that are coming off the top of my head. One person shared how she was asked to move her grandfather's funeral because it wasn't convenient. Another person was having struggles with their mental health and had some suicidal ideation, and they were told to keep it quiet because it was going to look poorly on and reflect poorly on their program, with the incoming class of residency interviews. I had somebody else tell me about how 4 pregnant female doctors were run out of their hospital, and she was super scared to announce that she was pregnant because she watched the writing on the wall. My own personal experience, I went out on maternity leave with my second child. I got a call 4 weeks before I was coming back where I was told I'm surprised you're coming back. And if you didn't, nobody would hold it against you. That's what I was walking into. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had a female boss, and she was a career professional and didn't want children. And I respect that. Everybody doesn't want children, and that's great. And I think we should support women wherever they're at, however they're, whatever they've decided and what works for them. But we are not any less because we've chosen to have a family. We can still be competent at work. We're still valuable. We don't lose our value. And I think when I walked in, my own personal experience, when I went back from maternity leave, I was out the door within 9 months. I mean, it was virtually impossible to take care of my family in the environment that had been created. And honestly, I wasn't doing a good job, because how could somebody thrive in an environment where you're not supported? And I kept asking for support, but it just kept like, it would be like, let's say I asked a question and I would get an answer. And then the next time I would try to do that same scenario. Well, it wasn't right the next time. They wanted it this way. And that's just how it was. And I don't regret the experience, because it shaped me and provided me, kind of gave me that push into moving on into where I've been. But I just really feel for some of these women, and some of the responses too. A friend of mine I know personally, when she was like, how about my whole previous career at my last job? And I mean, her job they were awful to her, even when she left. I mean, what they said to her, and basically tried to kick her out without her getting her stuff. I mean, it's rough out there. It's rough.
Really? What did she do that she couldn't get her stuff before she left?
She ended up getting it, but they were trying to push her out, I think, pretty quickly, and just saying things, and you know what I mean? Like really trying to hustle her out of there, because they were so mad she was leaving, and there just was no work-life fit for her.
Yeah. And that wasn't even a layoff. I've seen people like that happen at companies where they go into the boss's office and then they get laid off, and then they have this desperate look on their face, and then they have to get out of there immediately. So that wasn't even that case then.
No, she had chosen to leave because the environment was so unsupportive to what she needed. And I think she had asked for maybe, certain times changes in her schedule, or maybe trying to work 4 days instead of 5. I can't remember all, because this was a year and a half ago, but she had commented in the stories, and I said, you were one of the first people I thought of, when I was putting this together, just because we had had so many conversations.
That's wild. So often this happens with mothers and with women, but I'm going to share a story about my husband at work. And when his boss found out that we were having a baby, or maybe I had just had the baby, he literally said, why would you go and do something like that and wreck your career? And my husband was like, what?
And he wasn't even the one that had the baby. And when I hear it on that other end, because I know, and I talk a lot from our point of view, being the mom and the female, we know it's out there. I mean, men are not encouraged to take paternity leave if they're granted it. They're, they feel like a lot of places, they feel like they have to check their email constantly, and they're still plugged in. And, leave is supposed to be leave. For men too, if they,
right,
if they
you were.
Yeah, that's awful. And I'm sure, what did he say? Was he just
I think he was kind of speechless, because he would never have imagined someone would have said that to him. And he kind of was just like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Well, we really tried very hard to have this baby. It wasn't easy. It took us years to have this baby. I think that he was just trying to backpedal at that point, because I think he was just so taken back that someone would say that to him.
Absolutely. I would be shocked too. I mean, it was literally, again, I can compare it to my own personal experience when, first of all, I guess you're not supposed to be calling employees when you're on maternity leave. I think that's a thing. I don't know if that's people that are watching, but that's what I was told, later on when I was kind of reflecting on all of this. But in the moment, of course, I took the call, because it was sort of an onboarding call, coming back to the office. And it was literally the third sentence out of her mouth. And I just was sitting there trying not to sound like I was crying. But of course I was crying, thinking, here I am, this mom of 2 kids. I'm trying my best to take care of these kids. And this is what I'm going to be walking back into. And I felt like at my old place, we had to, especially as females, I felt like females had to work really hard to prove themselves. It was obvious. You could see it. You could feel the energy.
Yeah. So what's some of your advice? Because obviously this is what you do for a living now, right? What is some of your advice to people in that situation?
So I would say, first of all, if you're in a situation that is just, you're on that like hamster wheel and it's just been really hard, you've got to first evaluate, like, where are you in life? Like, first of all, if you know that this isn't for you, like, there are people that just, like, in my realm, they want to just leave medicine. There's no guilt and shame. There should be no judgment. I mean, it's okay that you've changed your mind where you want to go. So whatever that means, maybe it's you want to work part-time, or maybe you want to stay home for a couple of years and be with your kids and then like slowly work back into your profession. There's so many different ways that, this could go. But I would just say, first of all, like, get real and figure out, am I really happy doing this? Is my work life pendulum like really just hovering on the work side all the time? And if it is, and it's just kind of destroying you internally, you feel like you're just super overwhelmed, you don't know like where to go, then it's time to reevaluate. Like, maybe it's time for a career change. It's okay to walk away from toxic environments and places that no longer serve us. I think we self-judge and we think we fail. And I did. It was like this ego thing. Like, well, all these women can do it. Of course I could work full time with 2 kids and do 60 hours a week and take my kid to physical therapy, because my little one had, some minor, like, impairments when he was born. Like, no big deal. He's great now, but I still had to take him to doctor's appointments. And I just felt so torn. Like, I suck as a mom, but I suck so bad when I'm at work because my brain was always there. So I would say, get real, figure out what it is. If you have a partner, talk to your partner. Like, what are the finances? Like, where are you guys at? Can you start making a game plan? Because there are some people that unfortunately are financially tied to where they are. And I respect that, but it doesn't have to be permanent. So you just start making, in that case, it might be a 2-year plan. Kind of sucks to think of it that way, but you can like put that on your radar. Like, okay, there is an end in sight. Me, I literally had a backdoor handshake and I went PRN, which is as needed, but I have like part-time hours. I mean, I didn't even have a contract, and I literally quit this job in corporate America. That's how bad I wanted out, because I didn't even remember the first year of my kid's life. It's how bad it was. Yeah. And that wasn't acceptable for me. And everybody's different. So that's what I would do, guys. You got to get real. You got to figure out what do you want to do? Like, what's the next step? Figure that out. And then you start looking, is it possible? Okay. You've got to answer, like, possible financially, possible, does it exist? And if it doesn't exist, you can create it, you guys. That's what I did for myself. I'm working 2 days a week as a pharmacist, and sometimes 3, and I still love it. It's the type of pharmacy I enjoy practicing, but now I'm fostering the other components and opportunities that I wanted to look into: medical writing, just my email list, blogging, creating content to support women. I trained as a mind body coach, so now I support women and work one-on-one with women, because I want them to know they're not alone if they need that support. So you can create it. It's very scary to take a chance on yourself, but think about how hard you work for your current company, even if your company's shit, right? Excuse my language, but like, think how hard you work. Like, you should be able to work that hard for yourself. You owe it to yourself. You deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say about like the societal pressures that I think we feel as mothers and as women to, try to prove it to yourself, or try to prove it to your employer that you're like, no, I can stick this out, even if you know that maybe it's a toxic situation.
It is. And guys, we've all been there. We've all got an ego in some way, shape, or form. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human, especially you work real hard in your careers, or, maybe it's an ego thing of, I could be the best mom I can be, and I don't need to work, whatever that might be. Right. So first of all, we place a lot of unnecessary pressures on ourselves. And I think it goes back to like this perfectionistic, like, utopian society. And we've got to talk about the fact that perfection doesn't exist. Okay. Like, listen to this. This is going to blow your mind. So it's a paradox, right? Like, every time your definition of perfection is achieved, whether it's achieved in the crazy timeline we placed on ourselves, or whether it's, a couple months down the road, what happens? You reset the bar right then and there, and then you just have to go right back into that paradox and just go back and try to achieve it again. And when you don't achieve it, you're a failure and you suck, and so does it better than you. Drop it all. That's ego, it's judgment, it's shame, it's comparison, and it does nothing but make you stay in a negative energy zone. We don't need that.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to forgive yourself and get out of that. And there's lots of ways to, there's journaling, there's meditation. We've talked about the jam. I like to journal. I have affirmations. I have words of gratitude. I do like a 3-minute meditation. I mean, I'm no professional at this, but just 3 minutes, quiet breathing in and out with a timer on. And then I go move my body. I might, be at the gym then right after, or I jump on my treadmill, or my workout might be later on in the day. So I might just walk around my house. So there's just ways that we have to like get back in tune with ourselves and just realize like, that's just self shame and self judgment, and we can control that.
Yeah, that's totally true. I have two follow-up questions. My first is like, what do we do when we're at a job and we like this job and we're not necessarily ready to like leave that particular company, but we have a manager who is not supportive in our role, whether it's maybe, that we're breastfeeding or that we need to leave early to attend something for our child. Like, what do you say to that? What's your advice there? Like, how do you deal with that manager?
That was a tough one because it was so interesting because the direct manager that I had was supportive initially with that stuff, like with my first son. But then when the second son came around, I felt like it was so taboo to talk about children. So, I mean, there's just going to be times where you're going to hear things like, well, can't your mom pick them up? You have parents that don't work, right? Or, oh, it must be so nice, like getting a break coming to work and going to, pump, twice a day, or if you're breastfeeding. I mean, you're going to hear all the things. There are some really crappy things. So you've got to, first of all, like, again, remember that what somebody says to you is a reflection on them and has nothing to do with you. I mean, it took me a while to sort of process. So they could say whatever they want to say. It has nothing to do with you. I would say if you have to have an open and honest conversation with your boss. If it's still uncomfortable, if it's still not moving forward, there has to be another conversation, possibly with the boss above that person, possibly with HR, especially if it's for something like this, like the breastfeeding thing. I know a lot of people struggle with that. We live in a society where breastfeeding should be more than normal. It's how people feed their children. And there are some women that exclusively breastfeed, and there's nothing wrong with that. So they need to have that time and that support. So if you don't feel like you're getting that, certainly that even, I feel like that's becoming more like acceptable. If it's getting to a point where, you do like the company, but the boss is tough, it might be time to explore other options within your company. I tried to do that in my last job because I did like the company per se, but I was trying to see if there were other part-time opportunities or if I could get on other projects or something that just maybe was a better fit, or maybe I could fulfill a different need. And for me, unfortunately, there wasn't, but that doesn't mean that's not the case for other people. So I would try to exhaust your options within the company. Some people get very creative, and you don't know unless you ask. Like, we can assume with like some weird interactions, you can catch a vibe with some people like, okay, this person is not the most supportive. However, sometimes if we don't ask, they can't read our minds. So at least if you're open and honest and you have a productive conversation, that's all you can do. And then if you're still not getting what you need, that's when you have to start making a hard and fast decision. Is it worth it? And do I stay because I'm comfortable and I know the outcomes, even though I don't enjoy what's happening? Or am I going to get uncomfortable and take a chance and move on?
Yeah. That's what happened with me at Nickelodeon. I was at Nickelodeon for 5 years. I loved that company. It was a great place to work. And I had my son, went on a maternity leave. I really wholeheartedly thought that I was going to go back full time and sort of just pick right up where I left off, right? Just do the regular hours and all that kind of stuff. And then he was born. And I said, I don't know if I want to have that same schedule. You're working till 7 o'clock at night. And so when I had the call with my boss to come back, similar to how you said, like, you shouldn't have had like an onboarding call while you're still on maternity leave, but you do anyway. Yeah. So I had a similar call, and I said to my manager, and she's also the mother of two, and I said, I would really love to come back part-time. Can we like try to figure out something where I'm not in the office 5 days a week, but like I still want to work there and I want to work on this team? And, can we try to be flexible and figure something out? And she just said, no, it's all or nothing. It's full-time or nothing at all. And I sat on that for a second and I said, okay, it's going to be nothing at all. And so that's at the point that I left Nickelodeon. And it was a hard decision because I loved that company and I loved the people and I loved the brand. And it was really challenging, but it was what was right for me at that time. And so
exactly.
Here we are.
And you said that, and that's just it. And seasonally, like, just because I'm coming out of a season where I'm going to have kids in school full time here pretty soon. And I'm going to be probably not knowing what to do with my time. Whereas right now I'm like this professional Uber driver, and, like my time is just, I mean, I'm sure you remember these days, right? Like your time is just like, there's no consistency with everything. I think I have to be like everywhere all the time. It's so, and I do love it. I love being a hands-on parent, but I also do love and treasure like the time that I put in to cultivate the career that I've had. So exactly like you, it kind of came to that point where it was like, well, it's either this hotshot career, right now, and with the potential to keep moving up, but they made the environment so crappy, or you can go be a mom. And I'm like, well, I choose my kids, but that's okay. Like if everybody's going to choose how they need to choose, and we got to choose how we got to choose, and there's no shame or judgment, but I just knew for me, I needed to be here more. Like my kids needed me more, like where we were in that spot. And that's kind of where it was. So it was nice because it was like, okay, fine. Well, it's nothing here, but there's still a lot over here, and I just have to figure it out. And that's where we're at. It's great.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I wouldn't have started my account and in the platform had that not been the situation either. And so that's what my one friend always tells me. She's like, see, like sometimes things just work out in mysterious ways, and it's true. And so here we are having a conversation about difficult work situations now.
Totally. And just as an FYI, everybody, I'm really sorry. This is like the work-life fit. I've got kids trying to get in the shower over here if you hear anything. So hopefully Boston.
Oh my gosh, I don't even hear it. I mean, I just hear so much noise all the time anyway that I'm like, oh, is that your kid or my kid? I don't know.
You need to leave. Shut the door, please. See? I called it. This one is a knack for doing this. Please shut the door.
I get it. I totally get it. So, it's one thing I wanted to share with you before we jump off, because we only have a few more minutes. That is actually hilarious and totally, totally mom probs. So that couldn't be any more modern mom probs if you tried. But I wanted to share this with you. This is a journal for healthcare workers when they're feeling burnt out. And it's called Care, and it says a structured way to take care of yourself while caring for others. And it's specifically written for people in healthcare. So I wanted to share that with you because I felt like you would appreciate that.
Oh my God, I love that. I need to see it. Will you, when we
I'll send you a copy. Yeah.
You don't have to send me a copy. You just send it.
Okay, well, I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, that's amazing. So have you looked through it and kind of with it a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's written by a medical doctor with the intention of having, pharmacists, nurses, doctors, techs, anyone who is working with patients or working in a healthcare setting to sort of get it all off their chest and really think through all the stuff that's weighing heavy on them.
And I'll tell you, there is no perfect way to journal. I get that a lot too. A lot of my clients are so nervous to journal because, again, that rooted in perfectionism, they're so afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. I'm like, but it's coming from you. How is that wrong? How could any of that be wrong? There's no wrong way to do it. And I think the more you get, at least for me, do you journal regularly, Tara? Are you a journaler?
I don't. And can I tell you why? This sounds terrible. I have really bad handwriting. And so I'm big on writing things down in a notebook. I know, it's true. So I always have a pencil and I'm always writing things down, but my handwriting is so crap that I don't like to journal.
I get it. I can't even read half of what I write. I'll never forget I signed something and my dad looked and he goes, does that say your name? I said, yeah, that's the point. You're not supposed to be able to duplicate a signature. And he goes, oh my God. But I would love to see this. And I'll tell you, I made it a habit to start journaling, and it's changed my life for me. I just feel the one day I could be happy, one day I could be so angry, one day it's just so nice to have a place to put my thoughts. And it's this weight is lifted off my shoulders. So I totally want to check this out. I bet this.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
My stories. Yeah.
Oh my God, would you? Oh, I'll send it to you when we jump off. So I think that's amazing. And thank you, Brian. I feel like Brian's giving us all kinds of love. Thank you, Brian.
You are so sweet. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I wish I'd like to journal, because I know we've talked about that before on an Instagram live. And I don't know. I'm a big talk to text person. So if I get things off my chest, I'll grab my phone and I talk to text. Although then the grammar and the punctuation's all over the place, but it's fine.
But that's odd. That's a form of journaling too. I think that's fantastic. It's still a way for you to get it off of, just to get it off of your chest and express your feeling and just kind of do a mind dump. That's been a nice little stress relief too. You have that notebook or your phone and just get it out.
I think that's important because I'm pretty sure my husband's really sick of hearing me talk about stuff. Not in a bad way. I mean, he loves me to death, but like I use him as the mind dump, and I'm like, and so I'm thinking blah 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 blah. He's like, okay. He probably should get me a journal just so that I'm not like mind dumping on him all the time.
I think my husband's probably grateful too. Now that you say that, you know, he isn't like because he's more of a quiet type, and I could be like, half Italian over here, and I'm like from here to there. You know what I'm saying? And he's just looking at me like, and he's a talker too, but sometimes he's just like, good.
That's enough. Yeah, I feel bad about that, but I'm totally like that too. So maybe a journal would actually do me some good.
And that journal, this prayer journal, I mean, it sounds like it could be helpful just for like women in general.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. No, it is intended. Like I said, it's a structured way to take care of yourself while taking care of others. So if you are a caretaker of any kind, elder care, children care, healthcare, all of it, I think it kind of goes together.
That's awesome. I'm totally into this. I can't wait to look at this.
I'm totally going to send you the link. That is awesome. Carlene, thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I love our talks. I love like you said, we do talk a lot on Instagram. I'm so grateful. It's been such a wonderful, just time getting to know you and becoming your friend. I think you're awesome. You're just like the mom, you know what I mean? Like everybody's going to follow Modern Mom Props. I just want to let everybody know that, just because you're here right now doesn't mean this is your forever. And you really can create that work-life fit, however that looks. And it's okay if it looks different now than it's going to look in a couple years. And we all deserve to have that type of harmony. And again, it just depends on your situation, but just know that it's not impossible. It's going to take some work. It might be a little uncomfortable, but it's doable. And I just want, if you need extra support, please feel free. You can find me on Instagram. It's just at Dr. Carlene Link. Shoot me a DM. I do respond. I'd love to have you in my community, and you're supported and people see you. So just know that you're not alone. That was the biggest thing. I felt so alone.
Yeah, I did too. And I was going to say, you are so wonderful, and your community is wonderful, and your content is so wonderful and heartfelt. And I know that your community knows that they are not alone.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This conversation was timely. I'm telling you, it's been a very hot topic all week. So I'm so glad we got to talk about it.
I could imagine. And you and I happen to be wearing the same outfit. So
Are you wearing black pants too?
I'm wearing jeans, actually. No.
I almost had jeans, and I thought I'm going to throw on these black, cozy tapered pants. So just in case I stood up, this is what I'm usually wearing.
Oh, you're so cute. Yeah, no, I am. No, I'm not. But I'm just wearing regular jeans, but that's okay. I'm going to go put on my sweatpants or my pajamas now and go to bed.
You look stylish. I love it. You always look stylish.
I appreciate you. Mwah. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining. And we will see you next